All right, welcome back to another episode of In the Green Bets. We are coming off a stellar week, 2 weeks in a row, profit for both of us, and I hit Scotty Scheffler 33-1 for pretty good week. I think I made 7 or 8 units, something like that. It was a good week, and it could have been a great week. Let's see here: chokes from Gooch, Connors, Doug Gim. Xander should have been in the playoff, and both of us had Xander. And then Homa couldn't beat Horschel on Sunday. They were tied going to the Sunday. Otherwise, it would have been a rout, but we'll take the outright every day.
Yeah, it sucked with Xander, especially just like the way he did it, missing that putt. Could have been in that playoff. The playoff winner, though, we hit the margin and we hit the outright. Like, that's a big win right there. That's 4 I guess cards in the green, right, for 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
I'm excited. This is a huge event, and I think we're starting to get into this swing of like good fields, better golf courses. These are going to be some fun events because we can get some good numbers on some really talented guys, and I think we're going to hit on a couple of that here soon.
Yeah, it's there's a really strong field last week, and even stronger this week. I think all top 10 guys are here, plus I think Brooks isn't in the top 10, so he's not included in that group. There's just a ton of guys this week. The board is interesting. I thought the books were pretty sharp. Some of the numbers, I mean, I found some value, but I kind of was expecting a bit of different numbers, at least at the top. When you get this many top guys, I always try to at least grab 1 or 2 from the top and at least from the bottom half odds-wise. But we'll talk about it. But Riviera, awesome golf course, awesome tournament. The winners here over the years have been kind of strange in that you get random dudes like JB Holmes and Merrick, and random guys just happen to win. James Hahn, but you also got Bubba 3 times at the peak of his powers, DJ, Adam Scott, and Homa last year, who was playing really good golf, and that leaderboard was loaded. So I expect the same this week, in the field is maybe even better than it's ever been.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting week because of all the field, but yet when we look back at this tournament, we've seen some guys win who aren't super elite, right? So I think there's almost a kind of a 2 ways you can approach it, but yet kind of combine them to make our cards. And I think you'll see that with both of us. But in the end, we're going to see a lot of really good ball strikers. The leaderboards was really littered with a lot of really good players, like we mentioned, Decky, Rahm, Hovland, Finau, right? Finau's not been putting very well, but his ball striking has always been really good. Fast Poa Greens, we've seen a couple of those clips. I saw that actually before we started the show. It was like the guy rolling the ball, they were so quick, and he's like, the biggest misread since Xander's, putt to get in the playoffs. So it should be fun trying to see guys hold the green. Hopefully the weather doesn't do anything wonky, but it doesn't seem like it will. I'm excited. I hope to have guys on my card who can not only hit it far, but kind of get themselves in there, because the Poa greens might be a little tricky for some of these guys. So hopefully you're as close as possible.
Yeah, Riviera basically demands that you're good at everything, or at least break even on every stroke gain category, and if you're gonna gain super and approach or around the green or something. But you got to bring it. This kind of brings out guys who can flash about every aspect of their game. Obviously, the approach guys have somewhat of an advantage because the greens are hard to hit. They're typically hard to hit, though, because there's humongous trees. If you miss the fairway, makes it really hard to get good angles. It's all about angles. Morikawa mentioned that, and Rory mentioned that in their press conference earlier this week, that it's just like, if you're on the left side of some of these fairways when you need to be on the right, like, good luck. Like, you might not hold the green, or you just don't have the angle to certain pins. So precision is a key. This is like a major championship level of golf course in terms of it asks a lot of all aspects of your game.
Right.
The putting is kind of a throw your hands up in the air and see type of deal. We've seen some bad putters putt well here. Bubba basically said this week, I think in the past when somebody asked him about the golf course, he's like, it kind of levels the playing field for people like me who aren't that great at putters, because it's hard to be aggressive inside of 5 feet with the green so fast, and the bump, gets so bumpy for the guys later in the afternoon. So guys with all around game, but particularly those guys who A, can compete in big tournaments, and B, have that kind of approach pedigree.
Yeah, I think the angles thing is interesting because not only are you going to have to set yourself up with those angles on your tee shots, but you're going to have to avoid being in those trees. So it's kind of a two-part decision there when you're coming off the tee. And I know, you can't obviously place it exactly where you want it, but, when you're aiming for certain spots down there, it's going to be hard to put it in the right spot. So if you get a guy who can really start to gain in those areas, I think giving himself better angles just gives him more opportunity, to have better proximities, because as we know, if you can avoid those 3 putts, that's kind of going to be, a really big thing this weekend, not getting bogeys, and because pars are going to be pretty good scores around a lot of these holes.
Yeah, bogey avoidance is a big stat for both of us in our model. Yeah. Also looking at par 5 scoring. These par 5s are by far the easiest part of this golf course. You got to take advantage, because there are some really, really hard par 4s out here. So, and the par 5s are easy. One's one of the easiest holes on tour every year, and the other ones are scoreable. Also, 17 is one that you got to get coming down the stretch. We saw those guys make birdie last year, because 18 is not a guaranteed birdie by any means. So, to see kind of how the leaderboard shakes out, a lot of these really good guys are playing very good and have awesome course history here.
Right.
Like you talk about the leaderboard last week, obviously was amazing. Cantlay, Xander, Scheffler, JT, Rahm were all in the top 10. Homa played good. He was another guy from last year. And then you think Rory's played awesome here. DJ's played awesome here. Decky played good last week. It's it'll be awesome tournaments, because all these guys are absolutely on fire. And this is a humongous event. $2 million if you win.
Keep that in your mind for the one and done. I think another name there is Taylor Gooch. I know he didn't have a great Sunday like we mentioned, but he was playing very well. His ball striking has been really good. His recent form has been great. I know the one round out of form one round out of the 4 is whatever. It happens to guys, of his caliber constantly. It happens to even good players constantly. So I think we can still, maybe consider Gooch to play well this week, especially with his course history and also his recent form.
All right, let's take a look at the outright market. I'm going to pull it up here. Maybe I'm not going to pull it up here. All right. For whatever reason, I can't share my screen. I don't know why, but top tier guys, Rahm under 10, and then you got Cantlay, Thomas, DJ Morikawa, Rory, all kind of 20 or less. I took DJ from this list. I got him at 18. I think that's a fair number considering he's played decent. Not amazing, but he's played decent. And this course, he's just dominated 10 top 10s in his career here in 14 starts. He's got to win. I just think that he's due. He didn't win last year. That was the first year in 12 years he hasn't won. So, or 13 years, I think he hasn't won an event on tour. He's really due. And I think the odds he's at the bottom of that top tier, and I'm not sure he should be priced all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, Rory's at 22 actually on DraftKings right now, which is nice. But I agree. I'm kind of with you on DJ. It seems fitting to seem like this would be an event where he would kind of come back and show hey, I'm still just Dustin Johnson. So I think that narrative really fits. The issue we have is the 2 guys at the top, Jon Rahm and Patrick Cantlay, who set up for this course pretty damn well and are playing probably the best they've ever played. So that's going to be an issue. But I think if we can avoid those 2 guys, we have some value here. Cam Smith at 22, I think we can kind of move into that next realm. I guess Decky at 18 is a little bit low, but I actually like Decky this week a lot with his ball striking, his recent form. Kind of jumping in past that, we're going to have the Xander, right? Xander's kind of pushed us away, especially with how he finished coming down the stretch last week. Victor Hovland at 25. He's a guy who's definitely going to be featured on my card. I think you may have got Victor at a better number than that earlier this week.
Yeah, I got Vic at 27. I was looking at a handful of guys on Sunday night to see kind of where they pop Monday morning, because a lot of times those are by far your best numbers. Now I think Rory has kind of gone the other way, at least initially he did. And Vic was one of those guys I was targeting. Saw a 27, thought that was excellent. You know, I don't think you can go wrong with most of these guys. Obviously, if I'm going to get DJ or Rory or Morikawa at 20, I'd rather do that than taking any of those other guys at 12 or 14, just because I think their odds are essentially the same, their chance of winning. So I'll just dip a little lower. But if I'm building a DFS lineup, or if I'm going in the outright market, I'm at least getting one or two of those guys from the teens and 20s, because that's by far somebody's almost certainly going to win from that group. I would be surprised if we got one of those 100 to 1 plus type winners this year. It just doesn't seem likely given the strength of this field, but you never know, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we should mention Brooks, though. Brooks at 35 still, isn't it? I mean, he clearly has the talent and the ability to win here. So I think you can push him up in that group. That's a pretty good number on a guy of his caliber. Played really well last weekend. This course demands a lot of stuff that Brooks can do. He's another guy that will definitely be on my card tomorrow. The guy right underneath him at 28 is Will Zalatoris. I'm not personally going to be on Zalatoris this week based on how tricky those greens can be. Maybe it goes like a spin zone reverse for him and he actually putts well. Who knows? But
right.
The number at 28 under Brooks at 35 just doesn't make sense to me at all. That's stuff like that is where I will be avoiding that and hopefully going towards more of a talent heavy guy who can really just set himself up and hope that he can really close it out. Because I mean Brooks over Zalatoris. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. Brooks didn't make my card, but he maybe should have. It's just his win equity at big events is good enough that I think we should probably be betting him every time he's over 30 in an event that he cares about, coming off a really good start. Zalatoris. I saw a ton of people on Zalatoris. I get it, especially in an event that kind of neutralizes your putting a little bit, but I don't know that he's ready to take down this field, and there's got to be some scar tissue with the putter from some of these collapses. Spieth at 40 is not bad, but in the 40 range, I grabbed Burns and Sungjae, both of them super high in my model. Both guys have got some wins over the last couple of years. I just think those are pretty fair numbers for their chance. Sungjae is a really, really good fit for here. He's really precise. Doesn't make a bunch of bogeys. He's got a good short game. He's a good putter typically on Bermuda, but I kind of think these greens are just kind of more of a crapshoot than anything else. So
I think Sungjae is the obvious one here at this range, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense for him. I guess Burns, based on how he kind of started this tournament last year, we watched a little bit of the recap last night together about how well Sonny Burns was playing. Eventually didn't win. But him and Finau obviously had 50. So I think that's kind of the next step if you're going to bump up into that range.
Yeah, I got Finau at 60. I don't know that I super love betting on Finau to win golf tournaments, but he's been awesome here. His underlying stats kind of indicate that it's a little more putting than it is, ball striking. His ball striking was actually decent last week, and he's one of those guys that can just figure it out. He's got the pedigree. He's got the history to lean in on. I did dip a little bit lower. I grabbed Thomas Pieters at 70 to 1. He's got a top 5 here in the past. His stats, European Tour, are really, really good. Obviously, different caliber of players, but he's got the game. I don't know that I dip a lot lower than that. There's a couple interesting guys that I will mention, but I was going to let you speak here for a minute. But the field's so good, I don't know that I want to just. I see people betting these numbers, and it's like, all right, I get it. It's good value because this guy theoretically is better than the people ahead of him, but he's not beating the top of this field, I don't think.
Yeah, I think I'm honestly going to stop at Power. I'm not even sure Seamus Power can win the event, but I mean, he fits, and his form has been so good, and he's so high in the model that I don't think I go much farther than that. He's at 60 right now, which is I think he opened higher than that, so he's been bet a little bit. But that's about as far as I'll go. The only way I'm going any much farther than that is maybe Tringale, but that's if you saw my tweet earlier, that's I'll talk about him later because I think he might be my best bet. But I don't think as far as who actually has the trophy at the end of the tournament, I'm not sure it'll be any guys from this range.
Yeah, I mean, Reed at 90 is like he's kind of an auto bet at that number, but I'm not going to do it. His form's terrible. I don't know. I'll just save my money. It's just not one of the things I'll do. Molinari, I've seen a bunch of people on in the 120 to 150 range. That's fine. He was good last year. He's been decent so far this year, but I don't know. Just I'll invest in the top and let other people blow their money at the bottom.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I probably won't have many big numbers. I've seen a little bit of Carlos Ortiz love. I actually like Carlos Ortiz a lot. But at the end of the day, I think you and I both keep this pretty simple. It's a matter of, do you think this player can win the tournament? It doesn't matter what the number is if you don't think he can actually win. So
right.
I would kind of stick to that thought. And
there may be some value in the terms of like, oh my God, this guy should 190. He should be 140. But like, okay, great. You got a good number, but he's not going to win. So only one guy can win, and there's a million guys better than people at 101. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean, I think that if you are looking and say you do think Carlos Ortiz can win, then yeah, that's fine, bet him. But you have to convince yourself, and you have to really honestly believe he can win. So. Which is fine, but make sure you have that conversation inside your own brain before you bet it. So, I don't think that'll be something that I'll agree to for sure.
Yep, doesn't make any sense. But we'll move on to the derivative market. I think that there's a bunch of value this week. Top tens, I've already bet 3. I don't normally bet that many, but I got Cantlay at plus 150. Cantlay's been an absolute freaking machine. He was amazing last week without even hitting the ball that good. He's been good here. That one's just kind of, I knew I wanted to bet it going into the week, and I thought 150 was pretty fair given his form. If I could have got a ROM number over minus, I probably would have bet it instead, but Cantlay's been basically as good as ROM in terms of finishes over the last month or so.
Yeah,
Cantlay has like a million straight rounds in the 60s. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I was my first thing I wrote down was Cantlay top 10, and then I have some other guys who I think would be more of a 20s and honestly like a DFS lineup. A couple of these guys will be more towards that, like Seamus Power, who I already mentioned, Mackenzie Hughes, Tringale, who I'll get into here in a little bit. But I think there is some value here. I think if you can find some guys who you think can perform in these types of conditions, it's not too bad. Adam Hadwin is another name that I've missed the bet prior, he cashed for me 2 weeks ago and then played amazing again last week.
I cashed him last week.
Yeah, okay, you cashed last. So this could be a 3 in a row week for old Adam Hadwin. Like I mentioned, Seamus Power, his form is unbelievable. I think he sets up really well for someone who can kind of make pars and avoid those bogeys like we talked about, and maybe Mackenzie Hughes who can make putts here. But I don't know. I think that you got to have a reason for some of these derivatives, whether it's putting, whether it's greens and regulation. Russell Knox was my top leader in greens and regulations gain, so that is something that you could kind of convince yourself he was really high in the model. I don't mind him at all. Munoz is another ball striker who shows up on courses that are a little. I mean, he shows up at a lot of different types of events, but when he plays well, he plays well. So I think that could be maybe a little bit more of a gamble. Hideki top 10 is another guy I could be convinced of that high in the list. What do you think for top 20s?
I got 2 more top 10s I want to mention real quick. Brooks plus 310 and Xander plus 250. Both coming off a great week. Xander going to a course that he's been really good at. Plus he's just been awesome. And Brooks going to a course that he should be good at in terms of just like golfing his ball. Like he just is very, very good at courses that ask a lot of every aspect of your game. So I thought those were both pretty good numbers, and those are both on FanDuel. FanDuel's got a great odds on the derivative market. For whatever reason, they're just in general better.
Yeah.
Top 20s. I've got a long list of guys that I'm considering. Will Z plus 138 is the best number I've found. I don't know that I'll bet that based on the odds, but I like him a lot this week in terms of not sure he's going to win, but he sets up awesome for this course and he's been playing very well. Henley's interesting to me because he's playing good and his form is good in terms of the type of things he does well for this golf course. But Henley frustrates me. I can never get him right. It seems like every time I'm on him, he just finishes 25th or something stupid. So
right.
Henley's on the list. Gooch, like you mentioned, Gooch has been playing awesome. He's got a super track record here. Finau, you can get plus 180 on the top 20. I think that's very, very good value.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Sam Burns, plus 185. Those guys are really, really good, and this course is like perfect for both of them. Finau's the putting kind of reduces him back to the field because it's not so much about your skill in that sense. I have Hadwood written down. Homa, I think this course makes a lot of. Obviously he won here. He's got good feels here. He played really good last week. He not a great Sunday, which kind of cost me. But and then 3 longer shot names. Now this may be a top 30, a top 40 play, but Troy Merritt, couple good weeks in a row, kind of popping in the model a little bit. 10th off the tee, 4th in bogey avoidance, 4th in strokes gained par 4 of the last 24 rounds. Very key stats for this golf course. Martin Laird, 7th in strokes gained par 5, 9th in greens and regulation gains, 2nd in good drives. Also all key stats for this golf course. Been playing some good golf. I think cashed a bet for you last week.
Yep.
And then Bobby McIntyre. I like Robbie McIntyre. I think that he's a bit underrated. He's really, really talented. He's a super bomber. But he's got the game. His strokes game, short game is actually pretty good. I just think that he's more talented than what his numbers indicate. You can get him at top 20 at like plus 490. So those are 3 guys that are a little bit farther down the board, but all kind of flashing some form and flashing some numbers that we're looking for sure.
Yeah, the number I'm seeing here on Seamus Power is 250 for his top 20.
Definitely.
I really like that on my model here. He's top 10 in bogey avoidance in the last 24 rounds. He ranked overall 13th, which is really good. Greens and regulation, he was right at 21, which is really nice. Strokes gained par 4, which is something we probably will start looking into more as far as like how are these guys performing up, because that's the majority of the holes, right? It's pretty slow. Just try to keep it simple. He was top 15 in that. His recent form is really good, although he did miss the cut last week because of his putter. He was 9th at Pebble Beach, top 15 at the Amex, top 5 at Sony, top 15 at Century, top 5 at RSM. Like, he's been playing amazing. His putter was kind of carrying him there for a little bit, but hopefully he'll have a bounce back week next week. And then I have another top 20 who I will actually save for my best bet.
All right. Yeah, that's a good smattering of guys on the top 20 market. And those are some guys that if I can find the right matchup, I'm playing them in a matchup as well. Let's move on to the head-to-head market. I see a couple right here on FanDuel that I like. One is just an odds play. One is I'm gonna go Sungjae over Scheffler based on his win last week. Typically when you win, the next week isn't quite as good. The first win for Scheffler, and I really, really like Sungjae. So that was not an easy bet because Scheffler's obviously awesome. But I kind of expect a little bit of a letdown in terms of his play. Maybe he makes the cut, but just kind of runs out of gas. But I really like Sungjae, minus 102. So he's the underdog. Sungjae is in that. I like that. Brooks is plus 152 against Cam Smith. I like Cam Smith perfectly fine. But
where is that at?
FanDuel. Brooks is better than Cam Smith, and plus 150 is not a correct number in my opinion. So
he's even odds versus Spieth on DraftKings too.
I'd be interested in that as well. But plus 150 is kind of I don't really understand that number, so that's kind of more of like a number value play for me.
Yeah, I got the next one down here I got 2 guys that are super studs at even odds. DJ over JT. Obviously, JT scares me at all times, but DJ even odds. I like DJ a lot this week. His recent, or not recent, but his finishes at this tournament shows you that JT's margin for error is going to have to be pretty small because DJ's almost not. I mean, he's almost like penciled in up there. Like he's going to finish pretty high. So I like guys when you can kind of put all the risk on the other side of the matchup, right? If that makes sense, make the other guy play up to your standard and make him beat you. So I like stuff like that. If you want to get really crazy, always bet Patrick Cantlay, which his is plus 105 against John Rahm. I said that last week. Picked every single Patrick Cantlay matchup you can do, and you would have won them all because there was not a Patrick Cantlay versus Scotty Scheffler matchup, which is great. So I think you can find value in some of these really good players. Rory plus 105 over Decky is interesting. I think Decky definitely has a high floor, which is concerning. Rory probably doesn't have as high as floor as Decky has this week, but Rory is Rory. Like we all know who he is. He's unbelievably talented. I think he sets up well to play here. He's going to be on the outright market. If you believe in him, go for it. So I think you can find some value there. Pick some guys who you think for sure just kind of are going to finish way up there and make the other guy chase you.
Yeah, I mean I don't mind. There's a couple of Abe matchups out there that if you could find the right guy, I don't mind Abe this week. He played all right last week. Wasn't the best showing, but it was some solid golf. There's not a lot of matchups. There's a Peters against Tringale matchup. I would take Peters. I know you like Tringale, but I think he just missed 2 cuts in a row. So he had an injury though, right? At Pebble, he finished like DFL at Pebble, but it was maybe a back thing.
I'm going to preview it later, but he's on like every other tournament run right now. So hopefully we'll hit it.
Yeah, but I think I don't mind that. Peters though is a bit scary. You can get Abe Answer over Eric Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen is like super up and down. Abe's quite a bit more consistent than Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen finally got a win on tour last fall in one of those opposite field or weird, crappy field events. Mm-hmm. But I would take Abe Answer over him all day. But that's kind of it on the matchup side. There's, they only offer so many, unfortunately. I wish you could just say this guy against this guy and they would spit out odds and, juice it up. Or, like the offshores do, you can get somebody minus 1.5 strokes. Right. And that helps you on your odds so that I could take, Will Z over somebody farther down the board.
Yeah, Russell Henley versus Tony. Russell Henley is the favorite in that matchup. So that's another one I think that, look at the names. And I know it's there's other things that go into it, but should Russell Henley be favored over Tony Finau? Tony Finau lost in a playoff to win this event. Yeah. So, and I get that he hasn't been putting well, but it's not like Tony Finau's bad enough where like he's going to play bad for, 60 straight events. Like he's going to be fine. He's going to bounce back. Why isn't it at a course like this where he's had success before in a course that demands ball striking, right? Like the formula is kind of right there in front of your face. I get it. Russell Henley can throw darts at any course that he ever plays at, but I don't really see the argument for him being favored over Tony Finau.
Yeah, I agree. What are you have you decided where you're going in the margin betting this week?
Yes, playoff winner and 1-stroke winner. So we've had a little bit of wonkiness. You and I talked about this the other days that it's been 1-stroke in playoff until we hit the Holmes win, which was 2. And I don't really have a reason why, but I'm just throwing it out. So I think with the strength of the field being so high, you can kind of argue both ways. And I think I honestly have. I've probably argued if you pull the tape like both directions. But yes, a player can go bonkers and win by a couple strokes. But also there's so many good players that they might be jumbled up because they'll all be playing well. There's the chance that 2 or 3 of them play really, really well. So I'm going to go that way this week. I think the strength of the field just pushes me into this bet. Playoff winner and 1-stroke winner. Let's hit it again for 3 in a row to start off the show because we've been crushing it lately with those. That saved me big time. That was a 4-1 bet that really brought me back into the green last week.
Yeah. As far as specials, FanDuel has all these crazy ass golf specials. up again. I can just stare at these forever. You can get JT and Rory to both finish in the top 5 at 32 to 1, but there's like any combination of that you want. Like sit there and like pick through this. Cantlay and Colin both to finish in the top 5, 21 to 1. There's some fun ones. There's so many to pick through. It's kind of like a bit jarring at first. But sit there, stare at those. I think the one I gave out last week would have lost because of Spieth. I think Spieth was the top 20. I think it was like Cantlay top 5 or Rahm top 5, Cantlay top 10, Spieth top 20, something like that. Maybe Rahm would have lost that, but you would have had a sweat on Sunday at like 32 to 1 or whatever it was. So those are fun. And then top Australian, Adam Scott is plus 290. It's Cam Smith, Leishman, and then I'm trying some other not so good players. I think. Let's see here: Matt Jones, Min Woo Lee, Cam Davis. Not really worried about any of those three. Basically, you get Adam Scott plus 290 against Leishman and Cam Smith. People like Leishman here this week. Golf course kind of makes sense. He hasn't been too bad. Obviously, Cam Smith is good at golf, but I think that's pretty good value. Plus 290. Adam Scott's won here. He's been good, even before he won here. And I listened to him on the No Laying Up pod a few weeks ago. He's basically like, look, there's 10 events a year that I care about. Riv is one of them. He loves this golf course. He loves this tournament. He's gearing up for this one. So he played pretty good last week. I think most of it, you can take it and say, look, he's just getting ready for this week. So I like that number quite a bit.
Do you remember the stat you told me about Patrick Cantlay and making bogeys?
He led the tour last year in fewest bogeys per round, and it was like 2 something. Like it was like 2.1 a round. That is so stupidly good. It's unbelievable.
Patrick Cantlay has the same odds as all the super elites to go have a bogey-free round at 10 to 1.
10 to 1 that he'll have a bogey-free round of one of his 4 rounds?
Scratch that. I read that wrong. Bogey-free round in round 1. But still, I don't really like that as much, but I don't hate that. He doesn't make a lot of bogeys.
He definitely does not make a lot of bogeys. That stat was crazy. I'll be able to find it here in a minute. But what do you think one and done wise? Where's your head at one and done wise? I know who I'm going after. This is a big money event, so I'm going to take a good player. But who do you leaning towards?
I don't have anything written down in my category for one and done yet. That shows you how open I am. I have a lot of but a lot of decisions to make as far as that. I'm going to play someone really good at golf, like really good. So
it's a good idea.
We've both talked about DJ. I'm
going to talk about him in a millisecond. So
okay, so he's definitely. I'm considering him. Decky is also my next one who I'm also considering because I think he's gonna. I'm not sure he's gonna win, which stinks to say that out loud, but he can. Right? This could be his 3rd win in so many, in not that many months. So those are the 2 guys that I have right now that I'm thinking about. Maybe Rory. Rory's gonna have my outright for sure, and I think that I'm gonna use somebody of their caliber here this weekend.
I just found that Cantlay stat, 2.03 bogeys per round over 78 rounds last year. That is
pretty good.
Unbelievable. When was the last time I played golf and I only had 2 freaking bogeys? Maybe like 10 times in my life.
The last 2 holes that I played?
Yeah. So I'm taking DJ. I debated between him and Cantlay pretty hard. Obviously, I'd love to save DJ for a major, but this event pays as good as any non-major besides the players. I don't want to play him at the players. So, and plus there's plenty of other guys I still have in my pocket for the big tournaments. I haven't used Rahm, Cantlay, Brooks, Spieth, JT. There's a bunch of guys. So I'm going to take DJ this week. He's got 10 top 10s and 14 starts here, including a first. 2 pretty good starts over in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Played decent golf. it's just kind of like, look, I'm betting him to win. That's kind of the reason I chose him over Cantlay. Was like, all right, if I'm going to pick Cantlay my one and done, I should just bet him instead of going the other way. So I like DJ to win. I'm going to take him in my one and done and kind of just bank on that track record of 10 top 10s and 14 starts.
Yeah, the Genesis finishes for Decky here. I'm kind of talking myself into Decky as we're talking through it. He missed the cut last year, but before that, 5th, 9th, missed the cut 11th, 4th, 23rd. So he obviously has a little bit of comfortability here, and I don't really need to go into his recent form because we all know about that. His ball striking is unbelievable. He has two wins since what? It was like October when he won, right?
Yeah.
So he won the Zozo and won the Sony, and he got top 10 last week. I mean, I think it's all there for him.
He put it good last week.
Right. Will he get a third win by whatever month it is, February? I don't know, but I plan on him playing really, really well, and I think this is a good spot for me to use him to get some big money.
Yeah. All right. Best bet, I will go first. Patrick Cantlay, top 10, plus 150. I mentioned this earlier. Cantlay's recent finishes: 2nd, 4th, 9th, 4th, 1st. That's 6 in a row. In the tournament before that, he finished 11th. He only gained 2 strokes on approach last week and finished 2nd. He lost strokes on approach the previous 2 weeks, the top 10. He is bringing every aspect of the game to the table. Obviously, some of those approach numbers are a little off because those were multi course events, and not all the courses were tracked, so those numbers aren't exactly perfect. But he is a freaking machine right now, and plus 150 on the top 10. I just love it.
Yeah, I really like it too. I'm going to bet that for sure. This isn't like me to use this for my best bet, but that's okay. Cameron Tringale plus 275 on his top 20. I tweeted out this stat earlier when I moved my model to strokes gained total over difficult scoring. So, scoring relative to par is difficult. He was top 5, and I went to go look at, so I'm like, okay, I went to go look at his finishes. He's made 9 out of 10 cuts at the Genesis with a bunch of top 20s. So it made sense. So then I look even further, right? We keep going. We go all the way back to October. He finishes 2nd at the Zozo. He then misses the cut in his next event at Mayakoba. Next event, he plays Houston. He gets 7th. So that's 2 top 10s now, every other. He then misses the cut at the Amex. What's he do? He follows it up with a top 5 at the Farmers. Justin, he missed the cut at Pebble Beach. That's the last time he played. He's making a top 10 here this week. It tells it to us right here in front of our faces. I love it. It just, all the things are kind of pointing me out. I wasn't even thinking it. I just started researching, and I was like, oh my God, I have to bet this. So that's going to be my best bet. I really think it's hitting. Plus 275 is not bad. And I've bet so many bets on Tringale. It's crazy. I hope this will be just one that we put in the win column.
Yeah, he's cashed a lot of bets for us, particularly in the top 25 market. That's a good number for him. The Army golf, or whatever you want to call it, he's like up and down, up and down, up and down. It's like, not really sure what you do with that. There was some speculation about a back injury at Pebble, but that's been a couple weeks. Should be good to go. I don't mind that at all.
He gained 7.6 strokes on approach here last year.
That's very good. That's very, very good. Well, that's pretty much it this week. We'll put out our card. Mine should be ready tonight. I should have it out tonight. Hopefully we can get back in the outright winner column for a second week in a row. This will be a fun one. Super fun tournament, super loaded field, awesome golf course, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we're getting into these harder scoring events, which is always fun, right? It's like a different viewing experience from what you get, like especially in the fall, right? And we're kind of swinging back into it, but it's kind of gives us more of we're starting to prepare for actual real majors, right? Like these are types of events that guys go to play so that they can be in form to go play in big events like the Masters and other events they're going to hit this summer and this fall. So, or at the end of the summer. So, I really like it. It's going to be interesting, and I think we're going to see some really good players at the top of the leaderboard, which always makes Sunday more fun.
Yep. Well, we are kind of planning tentatively on a basketball show, like a mid-season kind of check in on some of our futures that we talked about in October. See if there's anything out there that we're got our eyes on for the rest of the season. On Monday, All-Star game is Sunday, so on Monday there's a few days off there for us to take a look at that, and then we'll be back here on Tuesday for the golf show, and we'll see you then.
Perfect. See ya.